On the morning of August 12, 2000, the icy waters of the Barents Sea hit a tragedy that would shake the naval world. Russia's pride, the K-141 Kursk, an Oscar II-class nuclear submarine, 154 meters long and armed with powerful torpedoes, was preparing for a major naval exercise. Aboard were 118 men, officers, sailors, engineers, all ready for a routine training mission. Kursk set out to perform a torpedo-firing exercise, a standard part of Russian Northern Fleet operations. But at 11:28 a.m. local time, disaster struck. According to the official investigation, high-test peroxide, the volatile propellant inside one of the submarine's torpedoes, began to leak. Within seconds, the leaking material triggered a violent explosion. The blast tore through the forward compartments, instantly killing many crew members and knocking the massive submarine into distress. 2 minutes later, a far more devastating explosion followed. Its force was equivalent to nearly 6 tons of TNT. Seismometers across several countries detected the shockwave. This second explosion sealed Kursk's fate. The hull was breached, compartments flooded, and the submarine plunged rapidly to the seafloor. The ocean swallowed the Kursk, burying it at a depth suited for submarines that typically operate between 300 and 1,000 meters. Many died instantly. But reports later revealed a heartbreaking truth. At least 23 men survived the initial blasts. They gathered in the aft compartments, trapped in darkness, writing farewell notes as oxygen levels dropped and icy water seeped in. They waited, hoping for rescue, praying for a sound outside the hull. But help did not come in time. International rescue teams offered immediate assistance, yet Russia initially refused all foreign help. Precious hours, and then days, were lost. The decision became one of the most criticized moments of the disaster. By the time divers finally reached the wreck, all 118 members of the Kursk crew were gone. The tragedy was no longer just a mechanical failure. It was a failure of communication, leadership, and timely response. The sinking of the Kursk remains one of the deadliest submarine disasters in modern history. A nuclear submarine, a highly trained crew, and a mission that was supposed to be routine. Instead, it became a symbol of silence, secrecy, and sorrow beneath the waves. Today, the Kursk stands as a reminder that even the most advanced machines and most disciplined crews remain vulnerable to a single flaw. And that in the deep sea, mistakes, technical or political, are paid for with lives. On the morning of June 18, 2023, excitement and anticipation filled the Polar Prince, the support vessel. 5 people, including the company's CEO and experienced explorers, were preparing to embark on a journey to one of the most famous shipwrecks in history, the Titanic. Titan, a 6.4-meter submersible with a carbon fiber, composite, and titanium hull, was designed for private deep-sea tourism. But beneath the waves, at depths exceeding 3,300 meters, the ocean was an unforgiving force. Titan began its dive in the early morning hours, with communication steady and filled with optimism. The objective was clear: to reach the Titanic wreck site, located about 3,800 meters below the surface. For roughly 1 hour and 45 minutes, communication continued, until around 9:45, when the signals suddenly stopped. The crew aboard the Polar Prince waited anxiously. The planned return to surface time was 1,500 hours, but Titan never resurfaced. At 1740, the world was officially informed: the submersible was missing. A massive search and rescue operation was launched, lasting nearly 4 days. On June 22, 2023, the ocean revealed the tragic truth: Titan had suffered an implosion. The wreckage was found on the seafloor, only 488 meters away from the Titanic's debris field. Footage captured by remotely operated vehicles showed the fragile remains of the submarine, silent and haunting. Once again, it reminded us of a harsh reality: the ocean does not forgive miscalculations. Why did Titan collapse? No matter how innovative it was, the submarine's carbon fiber and composite hull was not designed to withstand the crushing pressure of the deep ocean. The report published in 2025 by the U.S. Coast Guard and the Marine Board of Investigation highlights serious gaps in design, certification, maintenance, and inspection processes. The hull simply could not bear the immense weight of the water beyond depths of 3,300 meters. A sudden implosion crushed the vessel instantly, leaving no chance of survival. This tragedy stands as a haunting lesson for deep-sea exploration. Even with modern technology, advanced materials, and bold engineering, the ocean remains the ultimate authority. The 5 lives aboard Titan, filled with curiosity and courage, were taken within seconds by forces far beyond human control. From above, the crew of the Polar Prince watched helplessly as the silent depths claimed the submarine. The Titan disaster is a stark reminder of the fragile line between human ambition and the power of nature. That morning, at 10:47 and 33 seconds a.m., at a depth of 3,346 meters, the ocean refused to authorize a human experiment. Titan's hull gave way, a daring journey ended in tragedy, and the deep left behind a final message. The ocean is vast and unforgiving. On the evening of April 20th, 2010, in the dark waters of the Gulf of Mexico, about 40 miles southeast of the Louisiana coast, an oil platform was at work. Its name was Deepwater Horizon, a massive semi-submersible drilling rig operated by Transocean, working for BP. It was an ordinary workday. Until around 10 p.m. What happened after that moment was not just an industrial accident. It would become one of the greatest environmental disasters in history. That night, 126 people were on board the platform. Deep inside the well, high-pressure methane gas broke through the drilling mud and began rising rapidly to the surface. Within minutes, the mixture of gas and water filled the platform's riser pipe, and then burst upward in a way no one could stop. The next moment, the methane ignited. The sky was torn apart by a massive fireball. Deepwater Horizon lit up the night like a second sun. The force of the explosion sent metal fragments flying, damaged critical equipment, and threw the crew into chaos. The fire quickly spiraled out of control. Within moments, the flames engulfed the entire deck. The crew desperately searched for ways to survive. 94 people managed to reach lifeboats, 4 were taken aboard a nearby vessel. 17 severely injured workers were evacuated by helicopter. But 11 workers were never found. They never came home. The flames continued throughout the night and into the next day. The fire could not be extinguished, and the platform's metal structure weakened with every passing minute. And 2 days later, on the morning of April 22, 2010, Deepwater Horizon could no longer withstand the damage. The massive rig slowly tilted to one side, and then sank into the dark waters of the Gulf. But this was not the end of the disaster. It was the beginning. When the platform sank, it left the wellhead at the seafloor wide open and uncontrolled. Within minutes, crude oil began spreading through the water like a black cloud. For the next 87 days, nearly 4.9 million barrels of oil poured into the ocean, creating one of the largest marine pollution events in recorded history. Shorelines turned black. Fishing collapsed. Birds, fish, turtles, and entire ecosystems suffered damage that would last for years. This was not just an environmental crisis. It was a living testament to how industrial mistakes, negligence, and corporate decisions can reshape lives, coastlines, and the natural world. In April 1963, during the tense days of the Cold War, one of the United States Navy's most advanced nuclear attack submarines, the USS Thresher, was preparing to make its final test dive in the dark depths of the Atlantic Ocean. With its silence, speed, and cutting-edge technology, it was considered the pinnacle of submarine engineering of its time. But no one knew that this test would end as one of the greatest submarine disasters in history. USS Thresher had been built at the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard and commissioned on August 3, 1961. Designed to counter the Soviet Union's growing submarine fleet, it was equipped with sophisticated sonar systems and modern weaponry. Throughout 1962, Thresher underwent numerous trials, exercises, and system tests. Although it occasionally experienced minor technical issues, expectations remained high. This massive machine was believed to be capable of overcoming any challenge. On the morning of April 9, 1963, Thresher departed Portsmouth with a crew of 129. On board were 16 officers, 96 enlisted sailors, and 17 shipyard technicians. The submarine headed into open waters accompanied by the rescue ship USS Skylark, which would monitor and support the deep dive trials. Tests conducted near the surface throughout the day, including trim dives and half-test depth descents, were completed successfully. Everything appeared normal as the submarine spent the night submerged. On the morning of April 10, the crew prepared for the main deep dive test. Thresher began descending slowly into the cold Atlantic waters. Skylark held its position on the surface, maintaining sonar communication with the submarine. According to procedure, Thresher would pause roughly every 100 feet to conduct system checks. Depth increased quickly. The pressure weighed heavily on the hull while the crew monitored their instruments closely. 400 feet, 800 feet, then 1,000 feet. Everything was progressing according to protocol. Around 9:03, Skylark's sonar operators received a message from Thresher. Experiencing minor difficulties. Have positive up angle. Attempting to blow. This indicated they were experiencing small issues, but believed they could rise by blowing the ballast tanks. This was the first sign of a critical malfunction. The crew aboard Skylark was unsure of the exact meaning. The message was faint, but the situation felt serious. Moments later, another transmission came through, but only fragments were audible. Muffled sentences, unclear words, and a broken message in which only the number 900 could be distinguished. It was the first clear signal that Thresher was losing depth control. Shortly afterward, all communication from Thresher ceased. Strange metallic cracking sounds were heard through Skylark's sonar system, noises indicating that increasing pressure was stressing and deforming the submarine's hull. Within minutes, the pressure reached catastrophic levels. Thresher was descending faster and deeper, completely out of control. At approximately 8,400 feet, about 2,560 meters, the immense pressure exceeded the submarine's structural limits. Thresher imploded in an instant. The overwhelming force created by the difference between internal and external pressure tore the submarine apart in milliseconds. None of the 129 personnel on board survived. Search efforts began immediately, but rescue at such depths was impossible. Days later, deep-ocean search vessels reached the area and located debris scattered across the seafloor. Hull sections, cables, interior insulation, silent remnants of a catastrophe that unfolded in mere seconds. On April 12, 1963, USS Thresher was officially declared lost. It became the deadliest submarine accident in the history of the U.S. Navy. Yet this tragedy also marked a turning point. In the months that followed, the Navy launched the comprehensive SubSafe program, a stringent overhaul of construction standards, welding procedures, piping systems, testing protocols, and maintenance requirements. Since then, no SubSafe certified submarine has ever been lost in a similar manner. USS Thresher's story is not only one of loss, but also a powerful reminder of the importance of safety, the limits of human engineering, and the silent memory of 129 lives lost to the deep.